Indiana recruiting, I was talking about that a little earlier. There is a definite uptick in everything involving the men's basketball program, and that all starts with recruiting. The recruits they've been able to land thus far is been impressive for where they had been in a few years past, and the guys that I think that they're in well with now. Kenneth points out these gentlemen, Flory Badunga, Asa Newell, Liam McNeely, and Dylan Harper. Um, that's not out of the question because I know Indiana is in good shape with these guys. I don't mean that they're guaranteed to get these, but they're in good shape with every one of these guys. And those are all top recruits. And yeah, that would probably be a number one ranked recruiting class. And that would be so far away from what Indiana has done for such a long time. That shows you how far that Woody has got that Titanic turning.
Yeah, Boogie Flan coming to campus, I believe, next week, if memory serves correctly.
I forgot to mention him. Yeah, it's another one.
I mean, top point guard in the class next year, I believe. Top 10 player overall. No, just it's been an unbelievable roller coaster of a recruiting period for Indiana this year. Obviously, lots of questions swirling around with the just the volume of departures, both through natural attrition, draft, but as well as the portal. And what started off real hot with Khalil Ware, and lots of chatter about a cascade soon to follow. And then there was a lull. It dropped, and there were some misses. And lo and behold, Woody's got the Hoosier sexy again, as evidenced by the interest in the recruiting trail, by the visits they've got locked up. I've long been cautious about recruiting news this time of year. I'm old enough to remember the movement and just the ridiculousness that ensued around that, and just the way expectations really became completely untethered from reality. But at the end of the day, man, it's a talent game. It's absolutely a talent game, and recruiting is going to be the lifeblood for any program, not to mention one that's positioned kind of the way the Hoosiers are right now, where, as we've seen in the last couple of March appearances in the tournament, there's a pretty wide gap right now, both among the Indiana and the rest of the Big Ten, for that matter, in athleticism, length, skill. It's a pretty significant gap, as evidenced by the lack of tournament success. So best way to address that and get the best dudes you can and develop them to the best of your ability. And if everything works out great, you've got a chemistry that's going to work on the floor. And I don't know that you can ever overestimate how important that chemistry element of it is. But at the end of the day, you got to have some dudes that can get the ball in the hoop. So Woody seems to be making some pretty significant progress on that front. And, it's one of those things that can snowball on you, and it goes both ways. But right now they seem to have capitalized on the momentum with the draft coming up. Hood Fino looking like a solid first round pick. Trace probably early second. Who knows? We'll see what is the best fit for him in the NBA. But it certainly appears that the young guys are taking notice of this, as referenced by the young guys themselves and what they're pointing to. When you've got Dylan Harper talking about the Hoosiers in a favorable light, it just blows my mind. This is Ron Harper's little brother.
That's the one. That's the one that cracks me up of all. The fact that they're in so. As a matter of fact, I was told that by a source that it's basically down to Indiana and Duke for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Ron Harper, his older brother, has spared no opportunity to absolutely slay the Hoosiers at every turn. Yes. That poor kid seems to have caught the brunt of Indiana's ire towards Rutger and just the disrespect ever since they joined the Big Ten. And I'll tell you what, man, he earned the right, because he absolutely did his part. I think the kid went like 9-1 or something ridiculous against Indiana. You know, he earned the right to say whatever he wants to say about Indiana fans. That said, though, you know, I have similar feelings towards certain things, and there's no way in hell my brothers are ever going to gravitate towards those things that I feel that way about. So the fact that Indiana's been able to overcome that and show the Harpers what opportunities may await him here, and he's seriously considering it by all accounts. Seriously considering it.
No,
So
I'm serious. It's Duke and Indiana, from what I was told, and it's the mom is the guiding influence here. Luckily, it's not Ron Harper Jr.
yeah, and you know, there is a very similar pattern there with the sway that Woodson has over not just recruits, but most importantly their families. Not unlike the guy that recruited him to Bloomington, you know, 40 plus years ago.
A lot of talk about Joey Hart, the kid from Linton Stockton, getting a lot of talk. Supposed to visit Kentucky, supposedly visiting Indiana. Indiana needs a shooter. Oh, he happens to be a shooter.
Deadeye. Led AAU circuit in 3-point percentage.
And that's exactly what Indiana needs. And I think he would be a perfect fit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, anybody that can put the ball in the hoop from deep with regularity, it seems like they would be a natural at Indiana. You know, it's one of those where just when you think the portal or the transfer season is dead, it rears its head again. And I wouldn't be surprised that this cycle continues until you see that 13th open spot eventually filled, whether it be Hart or somebody else that's just looking for greener pastures.
The thing is, that's something that I think that they're going to do. They have to. This has to happen quick, and the Hart one could happen quick because he could make that decision and be done. Because these guys are on campus, man. They arrived last week, the freshmen at least, and so it's time to get things going.
Yeah, workouts just started yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, from Cliff Marshall's social media post. So they're on campus. It's underway right now. The 23-24 off season is officially commenced. So, you know, in a perfect world, you got all the pieces in place and moving in the same direction together. And while you've got the bulk of that here, there's still that one opening that the staff has shown they are clearly seeking to fill. And we'll see if they can make it the Indiana native, or if there's another name out there that perhaps we have not yet heard that they're also in contact with. So we'll figure that out sooner or later. But I tend to agree with you. Timing is of the essence at this point.
And this is a great point by Derek. I did not think about, because who's the kid from Kentucky? Their Mr. I think, is it their Mr. Basketball that can't play? Well, it's Reed Shepherd, I guess.
Yeah.
Can't play in the All-Star game because Kentucky won't let him. Well, this is a great point. Derek points out, if he goes to Kentucky, if he chose, he wouldn't be able to play in the Indiana All-Star game.
Yeah, you know, Kentucky just never fails to amaze me in their pettiness. Just, you know, whether it be the way they treat their all-stars, their scheduling concerns, as you know, as we saw last night with Jeff Mercer and his post-game comments. It just they cannot get out of their own way.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the rivalry, that's the. I don't know if this game's coming back. I mean, I'm sure it will eventually, but now you've got baseball canceling. It's like, what the hell? So that's a little aggravating.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mitch Barnhart enables some of the pettiest, thinnest-skinned coaches in America, and I refuse to be convinced otherwise until they show that they're willing to negotiate in good faith when it comes to these border rivalry contracts that they seem to love to run away from, or, you know, make a bad faith proposal where it's only one-sided in their favor. And it just doesn't work that way, and it's unfortunate, because no different with the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star game. At the end of the day, the only people that lose out from this pettiness are the players and the fans. And, you know, that's supposedly what they're supposed to be doing it for. But that's clearly not the case in the Commonwealth. And yet again, they choose to exit a historical rivalry, a great historical rivalry for that matter, simply because they're afraid to cross the river, man. It's just sad. Pretty
not only that, to take the opportunity away from a kid to play in your state's all-star, for your state's all-star team, that's a once in a lifetime thing. Number one. Number two, you belong to a fraternity at that point that goes back to the early 1900s, and it's BS. It's just, why would you take that away from a kid when it doesn't cost him anything? He's going to miss a couple of days of practice. Yeah, give me a break. He's not going to. First of all, he's going to be on the bench. He's not going to be playing. He's a freshman. There's the talent they have coming into Kentucky, but that's just to do that. That is so selfish to me.
No, it entirely is. You know, they'll permit these kids to go work out all over the country, whether it be at camps or individual workouts or what have you. So it's not like they're not lacing them up every single day, getting some run in. You know, the risk of injury is going to be omnipresent. This isn't like, the NFL All-Star game where they're out there playing beach football in the sand, during All-Star. Pro Bowl, I should say. It's just unfortunate. And it's really unbecoming, quite honestly. I understand Kentucky's a little sensitive about some of those records, especially at the high school level. But you know what? It's a complete disservice, because for a fan base that loves to crow about how passionate they are about the sport, this is truly a celebration of the best of each state's participants in those sports. And, it's unfortunate that it hasn't been more competitive, but that's just what it is. No different than the college series. There's going to be ebbs and flows where, momentum kind of sides on one side of the river for a little while before it eventually swings back. But, those are the things that, especially for those of us that live in Southern Indiana in close proximity to UK fans that have family on the other side of the border, this is a blood rivalry. It goes back, over a century. Huge emotions involved, and it's just unfortunate that they can't settle these things on the field, simply because administrators continue to allow their coaches and their pettiness to rule their decision making, as though they are somehow bigger than the game, bigger than the rivalry, bigger than the history and the tradition of those two schools.